And we just want to change the text here. So from privacy policy, let's change it to install guide. And yeah, we only need one. We're only going to have one on this menu, so we can get rid of the second item. So they're just going to stack on top of each other on small screens, and they're going to be side by side on larger screens. All right, now we want to go outside of the menu container, which is, where is it? This right here. This is why I like to have comments so I know exactly where everything is. So after the menus, which is right here, we're going to do the social or social icons. So that's going to be a flex box and justify dash between, and it's not going to be a column, it's always going to be a row, so we don't have to specify flex row. But we want to justify between, and then let's do a width 32 and a padding on the y-axis 1. And then we'll have some links and then an image tag. So on the image, we are going to have a hover effect. So I'm going to do a duration of 200 on the image tag and also give it a class of f icon. So for our font icon. And then this one is going to be, let's see, images slash, and this is icon dash Facebook. Okay, so if I save that and we go down here, we should see the Facebook. And then we can just simply copy this A tag with the image, and there's going to be 3 of them. So just copy down 2 more, change the second one to Twitter, and change the third one to Instagram. All right, so now we have our icons. Cool. And the footer looks good. Now for the hover effect, we're going to go into our input.js, and remember it's an image, so we can't simply say, you know, text color or anything like that. What we can change though are some filter options. So let's go right here and say F icon on hover. Then we're going to change filter, and we'll use invert. So we'll say we're going to invert it 53%. We're going to do sepia or sepia, whatever it is. And let's do on that 68%. And then saturate, we're going to do 434%. And hue dash rotate 121 degrees, and brightness 101%, and contrast is going to be 94%. All right, so by doing that, we should have a hover effect. Yep, there we go. So now we get that hover, and it's like the same green as this. All right, so we're just about done, but one thing I noticed is the font size for this right here looks a little small. So if we look at the final version, yeah, this is bigger than this. So that is what the section content class right here, right? So I believe that this is going to be 2XL. Let's see, at least on that one. So I don't want to change the class, but let's go up here to the first section content. Oh, we do have 2XL, but it's not overwriting the other. So you know what, let's take out the text XL on the section content. So now if I save that, this should get bigger. Yep, there we go. And yeah, see how this is really small now. So wherever we have the section content, we need to make sure we add the correct sizes. So I believe the second one, let's just search for section dash content. Yeah, so this one here, we're going to add on, I believe this is going to be text XL. I think they're all text, yeah, they're all text XL except for the top one. So let's go to the next one, which is right here. We'll add text dash XL. Next one, text dash XL. And you don't even have to use these custom classes if you don't want to. I just wanted to give you, show you that option. So it's really up to you on how you build your stuff. But yeah, so the rest of this looks pretty good. The bottom one, let's see, is the bottom one bigger too? Yeah. But the rest of them, like this. Wait, these look small too, don't they? Oh, they're supposed to be like that. All right, so everything else seems to look on par. The reason that it was different is because I decided to just throw in like a couple extra custom classes like section content. Initially, I wasn't going to do that. But yeah, so everything looks good. I think it's a pretty decent looking page. If you wanted to, if you were like selling an app or you had a free app or like a Chrome extension or something like that, it's a nice little layout. And of course, I thank Front End Mentor for creating the actual design and putting this in their challenges. So that's it for this project, guys. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, guys, so I think that this is a good point to do a little deployment. So our website is very simple. When we're just creating a Tailwind website, even if it has like a little bit of front-end JavaScript, it's simple to deploy, and you can deploy to just about any kind of service. You could even deploy to a CDN. But Netlify is one of the companies that I really like. They're not sponsoring this video in any way. They're just a company I've used for a while, and they have a lot of good features, and the free tier is excellent. So you don't have to put in any credit card information or anything like that, and that's what makes it really good for courses and tutorials like this. So you just need to log in. You can log in with GitHub, or there's some other services as well you can log in with, and you'll see something like this. And if you go to add new site, there's an option to import an existing project. So you need to import from a Git repository from either GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, or Azure. So what we're going to do is first deploy to GitHub, okay, or I should say push to GitHub. And to do that, you need to obviously have a GitHub account, log in, and create a new repository. And we're going to call this clipboard-website. And I'm just going to say down here, I'll just say Tailwind project. I'm going to delete this after, so it doesn't really matter. And then you can choose for this to be public, where everyone can see the code, or private. And I'm going to choose private just because I'm going to delete this after. And then create repository. Now we have an empty repository, so now the next step is to install Git on your machine if you don't have it, and you can go to git-scm.com and download it. You can also install it with Homebrew on a Mac. I'm guessing that most of you have Git installed. So I'm going to open up my VS Code with my clipboard project and my integrated terminal, and just do a git -- version, and you should see what version you have. So before we even initialize a repository, the first thing we're going to want to do is create a file in our file structure called .gitignore, like that. Make sure you have the dot on the beginning. In VS Code, you'll see the little Git icon. So what we put in here is any files or folders that we don't want to push to our repo. And in this case, we have a node modules folder, which has a bunch of dependencies for the Tailwind CLI. So we definitely don't want to push that. So let's say node_modules. And then if for instance, you didn't want to push your input CSS, you could just put input.css. But we're just going to have the node modules in here and save that and close it up. All right, so next step is to initialize a Git repository. I'm just going to close that. So we do that with git init. What that does is it creates a hidden folder called .git. So if I do an ls-a, you'll see that there's a folder here called .git. So that's our repo. Now, before we commit something or commit files to our local repository, we first add them to the staging area. And this is not going to be a full Git tutorial. I have a crash course on my YouTube channel if you're interested. But basically, we want to say git add, and then whatever files. If I wanted to just do like input CSS, if I just wanted to add that to the staging area, I could. But since all of our code is done, and I want to commit it all, except for that node modules, I'm just going to put a dot. So that's git add all. Okay, so now it's all in the staging area. And I can do a git status to see exactly what is in the staging area, you'll see changes to be committed. So to make my commit now, I would do git commit, and I choose to do -m so that I don't go to another screen to add a comment, because this allows us to just add a comment like this. So I'll just say initial commit. All right, so once I do that, now it's all in the local repository. If I do a git status, it says nothing to commit, working tree clean. Now it's not on GitHub. GitHub is remote. It's on our local. It's in our local repository. So to add it to GitHub, if we look here, we've already done most of this stuff, the adds and commits and init. So now let's look at this right here. We're pushing push an existing repository, and I'm going to grab this line, because what this does is tells it that we want this repo to be our remote repository. So we'll pass that in. And then we're going to grab this. So in Git, you have something called branches, and you can create multiple branches. You might even have a separate deploy branch, but we're just going to use the main branch. Just going to have one, and it's called main. And then we just want to push. So git push is the command to do that. For your very first push, though, you're going to specify -u, and then the origin, and then the branch of main. So we'll do that. Okay, now it should be pushed to the repo. So if I come over here and reload, we should now see our files and folders. And notice the node modules folder is not here, because I have that specified in my .git ignore. All right, and if I make any changes and then I want to make another commit, I would just redo. I would say add all or whatever I want to add, do another commit, and then I would just do git push. Okay, you don't have to do the -u, origin, or anything like that. Just git push when you're ready. And if you want to pull from the repository, you would do a git pull. If you want to clone something, you can do git clone. So if you don't know this stuff, I highly recommend checking out my Git crash course. It is old, but it's all still the same. It's all still relevant. So now we have our clipboard website on GitHub. So we can go back to Netlify, and let's say we want to use GitHub. All right, and then we need to search for the repo we want. So I'll just search for clip. And there it is, clipboard website. We're going to select that. And then we should be able to just use all of these default. If you have another branch, you could select that. Build command, we don't need this. Actually, I think if we delete both of these, we should be fine. And let's see, show advance. You can also have environment variables. We don't need any of that stuff. So let's just say deploy site. Okay, so now right here you can see it says site deploy in progress. It's only going to take a couple seconds, so we can probably reload it now. And there we go. So this is going to be our URL. I'm going to say open in a new tab. And there we go. So now this website is online, and our domain is just, it's always going to be something crazy and then .netlify.app. But you can simply come back here and say set up a custom domain, and you can go through and do that. And if your domain is registered somewhere else, like I use Namecheap, so I would go to Namecheap, and I would just I would add in a certain CNAME record. And you can learn more in the docs. This will show you exactly what to do, show you what to change, and so on. All right, so that's pretty much it. And if I make another commit and push to GitHub, it'll automatically update my site, which is pretty cool. So you have this continuous deployment. And you have other options here, like if you want to be able to submit a form and you don't have any kind of back end, you can do that. There's server-side functions, or I should say serverless functions that you can use. So great platform. And again, none of this is sponsored. It's all just from my own experience. But that's it. And again, we'll probably do some other kind of deployment later on.